Okay, so we are live on YouTube and recording. So whenever you are ready, I'm set to go.
All right, we will call to order the May 18th Parks, Trails, and Lakes Commission regularly scheduled meeting. Jamie, did you want to do a roll call?
Chair Steenblock.
Here.
Commissioner Steenblock.
Here.
Commissioner Ramseth.
Here.
Commissioner Miller.
Here.
Commissioner Gary. Commissioner Geyer.
Here.
Commissioner Moorhead.
Here.
All right, so then we are looking for a motion to approve the agenda.
So
moved. Second.
Oh, so I think that was Karen as the motion and Jason as the second.
Okay.
So we've got a motion and a second. Any discussion on the agenda? Hearing no discussion, do you want to do a roll call, Jamie?
I will. Chair Steenblock.
Aye.
Commissioner Steenblock.
Aye.
Commissioner Ramseth.
Aye.
Commissioner Miller.
Aye.
Commissioner Geyer.
Aye.
Commissioner Moorhead.
Aye.
All right. I don't see anybody on for open forum, but did you get any comments or anything for us, Jamie?
I do not have any open forum submissions.
Okay.
Is this a time where I should tell you one I got this morning from someone who wants me to tell the park, lakes and trails about it? Oh, shoot. Or not.
Why don't we save that?
Why don't we save it for staff up or
Yeah.
commissioner updates at the end?
Okay,
Does that seem fair?
that's fine.
All right, let's do that.
All right. So then moving down, we are on number 5, which is the Arts in the Parks Entertainment Promoter Contract.
All right, so Chair and members of the Parks, Trails, and Lakes Commission, in your agenda packet tonight, I provided a staff memo regarding Arts in the Park for 2021 and outlining the staff memo were recent updates from the state of Minnesota that have a significant impact on what we are able to do for Arts in the Park this summer. About a month ago, I had presented some options so we could move forward with an event given the restrictions that we were under, but as outlined here, it is noted that we are no longer under any capacity or mask restrictions by the state of Minnesota. So that is outlined in the staff memo. Based on those recent changes, that does give us the green light to move forward having an outdoor community event. And therefore, I did reach out to Parks, Trails, and Lakes Commission members just to gain some feedback if with these recent changes, if we'd like to move forward with Arts in the Park on Tuesdays in its full capacity with food trucks, farmers market vendors, and the concert. So from that feedback, consensus or the majority were really interested in having everything on Tuesday. This it works really well. It's grown to be a pretty popular event for residents and neighboring communities. And it really does provide a good opportunity for vendors to have a larger attendance, so increased sales and whatnot. So with that being said, I'm quickly moving forward with everything back on Tuesdays. And part of that is quickly getting together our concert series. As you're aware, the past several years, we've contracted with Woody McBride for his consultation and talent acquisition, sound and production services for Arts in the Park. So this contract looks very similar. It's something you've seen a few times. So I did provide it tonight with looking for action for approval for 2021. I did want to note that we are targeting a June 15th start date for Arts in the Park and the concert series. There are a couple dates listed, not listed for Mr. McBride. There's 2 nights that we would not need his services for sound and production. One of those is a band that I had previously set up and also Rock and Hollywoods. They are run independently. So the dates that you see listed, it would be, I believe it's 10 Tuesdays that we would work with him. Just from a recent conversation, as this continues to evolve, there might be one date change, but we are still looking at 10 dates that we would have him provide services for Arts in the Park. With that being said, again, everything is pretty similar to previous contracts, the same compensation amounts. And with that being said, if there's any questions, otherwise we are looking for a motion tonight to approve a contract to work with Woody McBride.
Happily approve that contract language.
Is that a motion?
And a
Need
second.
motion.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion?
No, not at this point. I guess I'll save it to the commissioner report, but it has something to do with this.
Okay, so a motion and a second, hearing no discussion. Jamie, do you want to do roll call?
Yeah, Chair Steenblock,
Aye.
Jason Steenblock,
Aye.
Commissioner Ramseth,
Aye.
Commissioner Miller,
Aye.
Commissioner Geyer,
Aye.
Commissioner Moorhead.
Aye.
All right, motion carries. That was quick.
That was really quick.
Exciting news too. We're back
Yeah.
on track. Yay.
Very
It
exciting.
is exciting. So
Very
this will get to the city council meeting on May 24th for their, typically this goes on their consent agenda, but this will be for May 24th for council consideration.
Okay. All right, well, next on the agenda is the athletic field fee structure.
All right, so Chair and members of the Parks, Trails and Lakes Commission, as you're aware, we've been working through some changes with our athletic field and facilities and the process and procedures with that. We've talked about setting a fee structure for our fee schedule, and have kind of diverted a little bit from that as we were working through a contract with the Forest Lake Area Athletic Association. So we've discussed multiple times what the fee schedule should be in our 2021 city fee schedule. Now that we've finalized and have a fully executed contract with the Forest Lake Area Athletic Association, where we did end up including a season permit fee as part of that agreement. The next step and the final step in this is to set the fees for residents, non-residents, and other users of not only Fenway Fields, but our other fields, including having tournaments at the park. So tonight before you is a summary of items that we've talked about in the past and fees that we've talked about with the Forest Lake Area Athletic Association, and a summary of this would be adopted into an ordinance amendment from City Council and into our fee schedule. So with that, looking for any questions, otherwise looking for a motion to approve the field fees that you see presented tonight.
I move we approve the fee schedule as submitted.
I second.
All right, so we have a motion and a second to approve the fee schedule as submitted. Do we have any discussion?
I just have a little one, because I've been milling it over in my mind, and I just don't think I'll be voting for this one, only because I don't think it's fair to the citizens to pay taxes for the fields and still have to pay to use them. I know it would reserve them for that, their play or whatever it is that they want to do, but something just doesn't strike me as well as to have fees for the different city parks, especially those that aren't at Fenway. So it's not a big deal. I know it's going to go through, and that's fine. And it's a year, so we'll all live through it and see. But I just can't in my heart want to vote for fees for using the fields.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions?
I've got a question. What are the fees that are charged, like, community ed? Would they be a nonprofit youth organization in this scenario and get charged $10 per field?
They how I would interpret it is there as a school, like they would not have a fee because they're not listed on here as, they would not, I don't think they would fall under the nonprofit youth organization. So we would not have a fee listed for that unless you think it should be listed as $0 for schools. But generally I don't think schools would have a fee.
Okay, and and when you say schools, that includes the community ed for like the T-ballers and that type of thing?
Yeah, I would think that any of the school community ed programs, that if it's a school initiative, that's what I would interpret that as. So not a nonprofit youth organization would be, you know, anything that falls under the flaw. One call I had today was a youth hockey group that wants to rent a multi-use field for some ultimate frisbee or just to play frisbee on there. So they would fall under the youth association. So
Oh.
no charge to schools as part of this.
What field did they want to rent?
Just one of the multi-use fields.
Which is what?
One of like the football, lacrosse, soccer, whatever kind of sport that you'd want to play out at Fenway. One of the 3 fields. They just want to make sure they have one available for about 2 hours on a Sunday evening.
And that we have to cross-check with FLA then to make sure that there's nothing going on?
We have a scheduling system in place and already have all the FLA schedules and did check to verify that they don't have anything scheduled at that time.
Kind of redirecting us back because we have a motion on the floor. Did we have any other questions or comments on this before we do the roll call? All right, Jamie, do you want to do roll call?
Chair Steenblock,
Aye.
Commissioner Steenblock,
Aye.
Commissioner Ramseth,
Aye.
Commissioner Miller,
Aye.
Commissioner Guyer,
Aye.
Commissioner Moorhead.
No.
All right, so motion carries and there passes on that one. The next one is item 6 on the agenda. There's no action, but it's for discussion purposes only, which is the Birchwood Estates Parkland dedication.
All right, so Chair and members of the Parks, Trails and Lakes Commission, included in your packet is a brief letter from our zoning administrator, Donovan Hart, regarding a new project that is in the works and that will be coming forward with a concept plan at our next meeting. But it's the Birchwood Estates project, and included in the letter from Administrator Hart, he indicates and identifies the parcel that this development is coming forward on. It's adjacent to the Hawthorne Heights development, right off of 202nd and 202nd Street North. And in speaking with Administrator Hart, this is coming forward as a discussion night, just very preliminary. He would like to gain a little bit of insight for the developer and preliminary thoughts from the Parks, Trails and Lakes Commission on initial thoughts on parkland dedication requirements. As he noted, you know, based on some of the information provided on nearby parks and future parks, you know, is it initially the Parks Commission's thought to just take cash for this project, land, or is there a potential for some land and cash? And just some feedback tonight's helpful so that Administrator Hart can let the developer know as they finalize their concept plan. And again, this is very high level preliminary. The actual concept plan will come forward from the developer at a subsequent meeting. So on page 2 of that letter, Administrator Hart did outline some information from our 2014 master plan and our city's comprehensive plan that identifies future parks. I will share my screen here. Just give me one quick moment to do that. Okay, are you able to see this?
Yes.
So the blue here outlines this project that's coming forward for Birchwood Estates. Right here in the red is the Chestnut Creek development. The phase 1 has been completed on this portion of the parcel. But in phase 2, which is right here where my cursor is, when this gets developed out, there has been conversation on taking some land for parkland, because in phase 1, we just took a cash payment. So this whole development Currently isn't any parkland available, so that is part of the conversation. So you will see in phase 2 of this, which will be kind of right over here, there will be some parkland dedicated for that development. So close proximity. Otherwise, the next nearest park, Southview is fairly close by to this development, right off of Goodview here. But currently there's no playground equipment, or really it's undeveloped at this point. It's just the parkland right now. And then otherwise we have, not too far away, we have Bridle Pass and Bridle Pass Park and Preserve Park. So just based on that information, I'm just going to turn it over for discussion if you have any initial thoughts. But again, just high level tonight so that we can give some direction as they finalize a concept plan. If you want that concept plan to include any parkland, or if it's just, you might be leaning towards a cash payment acceptance on this project. So with that, if you have any questions, or I'm going to open it up to just initial discussion.
This is Doug. I have a question on the Chestnut Creek second phase. Is there any timeline on that?
That's a great question. And Administrator Hart said that could be as soon as like a year, but it could be up to 5 years. So it's really uncertain right now of what that timeline will look like. So that's a huge variable on when that will come through.
Do we know how many homes are going to be in the proposed park that Donovan is talking about?
Yes, I confirmed that I believe if there was no parkland dedicated, they could do about 86 residential units, which would, if we just took the cash payment, would be $215,000. And also just to note, we're talking about the parkland dedication requirements, but as part of this project, there's also PUD, it's a PUD, so there's going to be some public trails and other amenities required. So there will be some conversation about some trail connections or trail amenities through here. And that's in addition or separate from parkland dedication. But I did just want to note that we will have an opportunity for some trail connection too.
So,
Go ahead.
sorry. So just being that there really isn't anything that close, would we have the option to do a combination, a small park and money?
Yeah, I think that's certainly, something that if you're interested in, the Parks, Trails and Lakes Commission could request to see that in the concept plan. I did want to note that I was also informed from Administrator Hart that this northern parcel from where this Birchwood Estates development is going to take place, it's anticipated that this is also going to develop out. That timeline is still a little bit unknown, but maybe more likely within a year. So there could be an opportunity to, get some parkland in that project coupled with some parkland in this project to service not only these 86 residential units, give or take. This Hawthorne Heights development really doesn't have a very easy access to parkland. So that's additional feedback, is this northern parcel is also going to be developed. Mr. Hart did say that this northern parcel does have a lot more of wetlands. So this current Birchwood Estates property is more conducive or more highlands that would be better land for park development.
It sounds like we have a lot of unknowns and future development. And so
Yeah,
now I'm wondering if we take the money and then wait until.
Yeah, I'd lean to agree with that.
I'd agree with that too. Take the cash parkland dedication fee.
Well, it is kind of intriguing if, as Jamie mentioned, putting a park kind of on the borderline of both of those, and it could be perhaps a bigger park, and we're going to have cash from both of them. So we could probably set it up fairly well. So it would be nice. To me, I think it would be a good idea if we could have that contiguous land there that share both of them, turn it into a park if that's at all possible, and then use the cash from both of them to put some decent playground equipment in.
I would agree with that, Doug. I have to figure out if there's a wetland that would abut that property.
Yeah.
That wouldn't be good, but if it'd be possible, because I do think that if we do take the money, that we should have a firm commitment that that area is going to need something. Hopefully, like you said, we could use a combination, but if not, something. So
I guess the question I have is, we still have a lot of parks that need updating. And if we do a park there, that Jamie, did you say it was around 250,000?
215,000 is an estimate based on, we just did the cash payment and no parkland included in that.
Yeah, and then so if we put a park there, that park's gonna cost more than $215,000, I think. With the growing with the growing playgrounds and stuff like that, and the cost of everything going up.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I think Commissioner Ramseth commented, that if we did a combination where we would have some funds from each of these developments to fund those improvements. The city is also still working on a 10 or 15-year financial plan where we could look at, potential funding opportunities to help with some of those park replacement projects that are outstanding, that are coming up being due. So there's an opportunity there. But I think if it's a combination where when we are accepting land, we accept some cash, that really should fund your projects for any future developments that come in when we are taking land, that really the developer should then provide some cash payment to put in the amenities at that location.
because we do want the
Maybe, is it-
development to look, good. We don't want to start pitching pennies on one because we haven't quite finished another. But I agree that we have to keep in the mind all the time that we do have some updates to consider.
I just think one of the big picture considerations for the city is, the number of parks that we acquire. Then you obviously have additional maintenance and long-term planning for that. I think about currently, even though we have 23 parks, I think 13 of them currently have park amenities, whether it's a playground of some kind. So that's our current inventory. So I think that's more of the long-term plan of, if we do take on parkland and provide amenities, just to know that will build on eventually with our maintenance and our repair, and our budgets will have to increase for that component down the road.
The good thing is they bring in a lot of homes that have a lot of tax base. So that helps everybody.
Correct.
Jamie, are these going to be the same developer? Or are they two separate projects altogether?
So another great question. So the Birchwood Estates development that we're talking about tonight is a different developer to the one at the north.
Okay.
So Doug, going back to what you were saying, you were suggesting kind of the combo, a portion of land and funds. Is
I
that
was
what
bringing
you're?
that up and then coupling that with the development to the north, if they could take land from both of those, that's contiguous land, and take money and land and use that to develop that park.
Yeah, the
How
one
does
thing, oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, how does everybody, because I think what our goal tonight is to give Donovan some direction. We don't know where on this land it's going to go yet or anything else, but what do we want Donovan to come back to the next meeting? Is it a combo? Is it just cash? Is it just land? So that when he brings something back, it aligns with what we're giving him for direction as far as options.
Yeah, and again, this is preliminary, so if there's any feedback you have, he can let the developer know and they can incorporate that into their concept plan. Just so that when we see this again, which would likely be our next meeting, that you're gonna see the full concept plan, and they could insert some parkland of some size if that's something you wanna see, and just some direction on maybe whereabouts. I think there would need to be some trail connectivity over to maybe Goodview Avenue. If we were talking about using some land from each of the developments. So, we'd have to look, I thought this could be some way to connect. If we had a park up here, then we would need some connection over to Goodview. There's trail connection. There's a trail on Goodview, and then there's paved trail to about here, I think it is on 202nd. So, we would like to try to get some more trail extension to the east on this project. But if we do put a park kind of in this northern portion of the development, access would be something we'd want to make sure that they address as well. Whereas if it was parkland, maybe down here right off of 202nd, that's a little more accessible. So
Guess I would have to know more where it's possible, but I would like to see a park in that area. It's quite a ways to the other two, and well, of course, Southview, there's nothing to go to, but I do think for the amount of houses that'll be in those two developments, it would necessitate some sort of a park.
So I guess we've got some of
Well,
us that want a park and some of us that want money. Do we meet in the middle and ask Donovan to give us a plan that looks at both, or?
Well,
Yeah,
that's kind of what I was thinking. We could say, well, we would take the money, but if there's the opportunity to put a park between those two parcels of land, that might be something we would like to look at as well.
Okay.
I agree.
I agree with that.
I think that's sufficient feedback and direction for staff. And I think the intent for tonight was just to introduce this at a very beginning stages of this so that the developer has some feedback in their concept plan creation. So I think I'm good on my end unless there's any other comments or feedback.
My only other piece of feedback would be that the land needs to be in a decent, it can't be wet land or completely surrounded by
Yeah.
wetland.
Swim to get there.
Yeah.
Okay, I have that noted.
Everybody else okay with that?
I think it sounds good.
Okay.
All right, and again, this will come to a concept plan, will then come back to the Parks, Trails and Lakes Commission. So I will share this with Administrator Hart, and he'll be in contact with the developer for that.
Perfect. All right, so then next on the agenda is the North Shore Circle Parkland Stormwater.
Yes, this is an update sharing on behalf of our city engineer, Ryan Goodman. At a recent city council meeting, city council discussed and approved a project to update and install new lift stations along North Shore Circle Street. And so as part of this street and utility improvements project, this is going to trigger the full watershed permit requirements. So the city will be looking for areas within the project boundaries where they can meet their rules and requirements from the watershed district. So there's two areas within that general area. Both are North Shore Circle Parks, and I'll just show you really quick here what they're considering. But it was just asked tonight to let you know that this is coming up in the near future. Our city engineer does plan on attending our July meeting to share some more information on this, but just as a very preliminary opportunity to let you know that this is going to be coming forward. And let me just pull this picture up for you. Oh, give me 1 second. I was just going to show you the picture quick so you guys can see. And then that's all I have for that. Okay, I kind of have a double of the picture here. So So these are our two park lands, and this is in the proximity of where they're going to be doing the work. So more to come July, but there will be some watershed district requirements and some discussion about these two parks. This one is their first priority, and then their second is listed here. So just wanted to give you an update and share that with you tonight. Aside from that, the only other update that I have tonight is just continuing recruitment for park rangers. It's been a little more difficult of a process this year. Our normal recruitment efforts that we've gone through have not been very successful. So we are continuing that effort this week with additional outside of the box opportunities, sharing, putting up some signs at the park, sharing with different groups within the community to help try to recruit some park rangers. It's part-time, nights and weekends, and pay is typically $12 an hour. So we're going to look at what we can do to try to get some more people recruited for that. But just wanted to share that we are having our typical process has not gotten us applicants like we're used to. So we're going to continue that effort. So
What's the age requirement?
Prefer 18 and over so they can be covered if we need to do any driving. But it is a very independent job. I've hired people that are 17 if they are qualified and capable to work independently and confident to do the duties as assigned. So if you have any additional thoughts on where to share this and who to share it with, or if you know of anybody looking for some extra work this summer, we are looking for some staff for that yet.
Jamie, how long have we been paying $12 an hour?
We've been paying $12 an hour starting for the last 4 or 5 years. So
Perhaps that's the issue.
it is an issue. We are looking at bumping that up a little bit. There is a pay range for part-time seasonals, which caps at $15 an hour. And so I think for our next month, when we start talking about budgets, I think that's going to be part of our conversation with just changes in minimum wage across the state and country, and what we might need to do differently for next year. So we are going to try starting at like $13 an hour and see if we can get some applicants there. So it's been a challenge, but I'm going to keep trying and try some different things to get people staffed for the summer.
Jamie, have you talked with the school district? Because they often put on their updates or their daily announcements, companies that are hiring young people for the summers or for a job. So that would be a good place if you haven't used it yet to use.
Yeah, I did send it over to the school district where they post for all their
Okay,
looking for employment. I do have a list of things I'm going to still do this week, just as another effort. So I still have some things to try, but open to any other thoughts and suggestions. I've sent it out to quite a few different groups, but I'm going to keep working on that. So if you have other, maybe I need to expand my reach more than I've had to in the past. So if you have any other thoughts, and I think Councilmember Bystrom, did you have a comment or suggestion?
I just was wondering how many hours a week do they average usually?
16 to 30 or so a week. I think one of the challenges is I think people that are looking for employment are looking for full-time hours. If that's something that would help this year to get some applicants, I think our budget would support giving some additional hours. And I think that would be justified with the fact that our number of reservations have gone up and just park use has been up, that I think the budget for 2021 would support increased number of hours over the course of the week. So if somebody was looking for closer to 30 or 40 hours, I think I could provide that for them.
is Richard coming back?
I'm sorry, can you repeat
Is
that?
Richard coming back?
No, I believe he retired officially as of last year, or
Oh,
I should say 2019. Last year didn't really happen.
right.
I do think you're going to have a struggle because everybody's kind of hurting for workers right now and the wages are pretty high.
Yeah, I know I'll keep trying. I just am
But
concerned. I just want to make sure that our service at the parks, is covered and what that's going to look like if we're having some gaps. I'm confident I can schedule most shifts, but I'm even missing if we, are short-staffed and miss a day, what that contingency plan will look like. And so just still working through that.
And you said
So-
nights and weekends. Is it every weekend? I mean, that's gonna be a.
Well, we do staff the park so Monday through Friday from 4 to 9 are the typical hours. And Saturdays and Sundays at a minimum from 1 to 9 p.m. I have expanded the weekend hours just to cover all the different rentals that we've had. So I do like to try to schedule like 9 or 10 in the morning, depending on what's happening in the park. We have a lot of weekends that are getting busy with, gazebo rentals and picnic shelters and things like that. So
But does every park ranger work every weekend in the summer?
they wouldn't have to work every weekend. One individual would not work every single weekend if they truly wanted to.
Okay.
I try to hire, 3 to 4 people for the summer so I can give them enough hours. And then generally that works out to cover when they need a day off or, a weekend off or whatnot. So. So I don't have any
Any
further.
other questions?
I was just going to offer, if Jackie has any updates. I don't know if she has any. Jackie, did you have any updates tonight?
I do not.
Okay, perfect. So I think that's it for staff updates.
All right, Karen, you had something for commissioner update?
I did, 2 things. I was at a wedding this weekend. I'm sorry, wedding next weekend. I was at a funeral this last weekend. Quite a difference. And did talk to Father Bodine, and he's had a little trouble getting a hold of people from the city and getting his permitting done. And he asked me, if I could share anything with the city staff that it's really holding him back, and he's just looking for information, and he hasn't been able to get anybody's attention to get some information that he needs. And then he was also talking about Belts Park, and I told him we haven't talked about it for a while, but it's a big ticket item. We're looking it over. I think it's on the front page for what we're planning on doing. And he kind of pointed out, remember when we were at the park and we were putting balls in the jars or something to get an opinion of the city around, the people around there, what they wanted, and that the bathrooms were a big hit with all of this residents from around there. And so he's hoping that's still on our mind so that we can work together for the parking and some of the amenities that we had talked about with him. So just that much of the update is just to try and make sure that we're communicating well with him, because he certainly is a partner next door on that. Secondly, those of you who haven't heard, the fish are up, the sculpture's up, and it is very attractive, I think. And the sculptress is amazing. She said our staff is wonderful because the cement was exactly perfect for what they needed, et cetera, et cetera. But it prompted conversation from people who have lost friends. Would there be a memorial of some sort where they could purchase a fish in memory of their friend? Because they see this kind of taking off as maybe something like the white bear, and maybe it's the Forest Lake fish is what they were chatting about. But I said, you just can't go putting a fish here and there. And so then they talked about what I mentioned to the Parks, Lakes, and Trails about some sort of a memorial part, whether it be marked off or something where people could buy these fish and then have them in the memorial park. So brought it up, don't know, much about it, but looking forward to ideas from people and what they think, what they see.
Great. Thank you for the updates. I will follow up with did you say permits? Is that what he was originally calling about permits?
Yeah, the shed is done, but it's the house now that he had to do something in the ground and he had to know where things were. And I figure if he can talk to the city staff, he'll get a more accurate description of what it is that he's having trouble getting, but.
Sure. No, I will follow up with the permit department tomorrow. And then as it relates to Belts Park, yes, that is definitely our top priority. I actually looked back. I did get a draft parking agreement from our city attorney as an example of one we could consider for Belts Park and St. Peter's. So I'm ready to move forward with digging into that once we get Arts in the Park up and running here soon. And then continue those conversations regarding the priorities for that master plan. So that is coming up again. COVID obviously threw a huge curveball, and we're now transitioning out of the COVID world. So I feel comfortable once Arts in the Park gets up and running here soon, we should be back to kind of hopefully some business as usual and a little more normal flow of work. So.
Okay, but we're still as. a
Jamie, one
park-
of the things,
Oh, go ahead. I was just going to ask again.
go ahead, Karen.
Are we still looking at that warming house and bathroom situation as one of our priorities?
Yes, that was identified as part of the master plan as one of the top priorities of that project.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
I'm going to go backwards a little bit, Jamie. And this was one of the things I was going to ask under Arts in the Park is, Jackie, are you working on any type of communication plan for Arts in the Park and material? And if so, what does that look like? Or can you come to the next meeting maybe to be able to show us so we could see?
I have started on some preliminary things. As the last time I talked to Jamie, she wasn't quite ready for them yet. So we will be working on stuff for Arts in the Park, definitely, but we don't have a solid plan yet. But that's definitely coming up.
Okay.
We'll be able to roll out communications starting next week. So we'll be ready to go with that. Everything else should be, the concert series draft lineup is in place, and I'm just fine tuning things in the next day or two. So we'll have the schedule and ready to start the communication. So.
And I have started playing around with some designs as well. So I've been working on it.
Thank you. All right.
Back to the fish.
Any other, oh, sorry.
Back to the fish.
So I guess is the fish part of the parks, or is it a city policy on artwork and?
Yeah, they
such?
haven't quite got the policy written, but it is definitely in the city property, as I understand. It's where the Christmas tree goes. And it just went up today, so you'll be able to see it. But isn't that city property where the tree goes?
Yeah, I didn't know if it was parks, if what we were talking about here was a art policy more so than a park.
They were thinking like the bricks for the veterans, or that, people could get a bench for people, that it would be something, if we could come up with something creative that people could have as a memorial to their loved one. But you just can't start, sticking these things all over. In my mind, we have to have some sort of a place in the park where it would all be in one area. And I'm not sure what that is, but.
Yeah, I think that sounds, I think after we look at it and kind of muddle that one over, I think that could be a future agenda item if there's an opportunity for some kind of program like that. I've also, not to talk about just, fish is relating to this project, but I also have made some progress with a tree donation program as well for city parks, where for $300, you can donate $300 to purchase a tree with a memorial plaque by it. So I think we can tie in a future meeting agenda item around park donations and what that would look like and what the options are. And I think it ties back to probably again 2019, but we started talking about like what are some of those opportunities for donations for parks. So I think that would be a good future agenda item and fish, trees, and whatever else we might have as an option.
Okay.
Kind of on that note, Jamie, who is I'm sorry for the chiming in the background.
We love the chimes.
So who is responsible for the veterans bricks that are in the along the lake?
So there's two sets of pavers. There's the Veterans Memorial Program, which is closer to the beach house, but you're talking about the pavers down by the lake?
Yes, because they've sunk somewhat, and there's also grass growing over the first names of bricks, and so it's not well maintained. And so if we're going to look at something else to be put down there, and as far as memorials are concerned, we should be taking care of the ones we have also, because
So-
they're not well maintained.
So Commissioner Moorhead can probably speak more to this than I can, but that was a former park board initiative where they sold the paver, those bricks down by the lake, and that program ended, I believe, in 2000 and I don't know the exact year, but several years ago that program ended. So those would be technically city, the city should be maintaining those bricks.
Well, you might mention it that they could use a little cleanup down there and maybe have to reset some of them because they're underwater when it rains.
Did you put that on Dave's maintenance list?
Yeah, I will add that to the list to take a look at when they're down at the park. But that is something we should be looking at.
I agree with you, Doug, and I think the more we add, the more we have to maintain. So there's that balance, I think.
Yeah.
Because if we
I agree.
add, especially if it's a memorial or something like that, it's just, if we add it, we should maintain it regardless of what it is, but there's just something extra sensitive about a memorial.
Right.
Yeah.
Anybody else have updates? I see Spring Fling.
I'm just gonna see if Commissioner Guyer or Moorhead wanted to share just a brief recap for Spring Fling 2021 for those who were not there.
Go ahead, Betty.
Sure, I can start. I think just bottom line is it was a huge success. We had great weather. We had great turnout. We had great sponsors in Keller Williams and Bolton Mink and the Forest Lake Lions. Great help from the Rotarians and the Forest Lake Lions. We couldn't have done it without all their help, and a few grandchildren thrown in there for sure. I think we had like 229, because we don't really keep track, but we had 229 kids sign up for some of the giveaways. So if that's a gauge for us at least. And it was busy early and then steady the rest of the time. So it was really good. Karen and I will be doing a final recap on just kind of what went well and what we might want to change next time. But so you guys can jump in there. If you
Thanks,
have anything
Betty.
else. Yep.
I just agree very much with what she said and talk about busy. Jamie and Betty and I worked the whole day and were very busy the whole time. It would be on my list of things for next time too. We didn't have any visitors or help from the city staff, the mayor, anybody. And also, I know the commissioners, and I know some were busy and we had known that, but I think we do have to have more of a joint effort because it is a huge success. People were very, very happy. Of course, after COVID, they're probably doubly happy, but they remembered the last one. And so I think it's something that we're going to really, especially if we keep it on the same day, we're going to be having lots of happy folks down there, but we definitely need more help to continue that. But it certainly went well for that day. I think all three of us and the Rotarians and Lions that were there thought it was a big success.
Well, I can tell you from my grandchildren, they thought it was a lot of fun. Bunnies and balloons were the hit.
Yeah, that poor balloon lady. Oh,
The
gosh,
bunnies
The
were really
balloon
cute.
lady is
though.
probably dead now. I don't know.
she ran out of air.
Yeah, and I just want to huge thank you to Commissioner Guyer and Commissioner Moorhead. Commissioner Guyer really behind the scenes led a lot of the organizational management of this project, keeping us on track with the deadlines and schedule. And Commissioner Moorhead also very involved in this process and the day of. Just it was busy. We were constantly going around, and it was a team effort. I do think it was a good success. I was happy to see people get together safely as a community for the first time since November, December of 2019. So I think a lot of good. I think this is now that this is our second time having this and we've built that momentum, I'm looking forward to continuing and to develop and grow. And to Commissioner Moorhead's point, getting maybe the fire department or the police department involved. It's just a 3-hour event. So it's kind of short and sweet, but it's the right timeline. So, so thank you. And I'm excited to have that recap and start thinking about it for next year. So
Very fun.
Thank you.
Good job.
Yeah.
Somebody did that on top of the senior dinner. I won't mention any
We can't
names,
have
but I was
that.
wondering what she was,
That was
which
amazing.
by the way, the Forest Lake Lions senior dinner went over really well, and being able to use Fenway. Thank you to the city for allowing us to use Fenway because it was the perfect location. We didn't have traffic issues. We were able to flow people in and out, and it worked really, really well.
Yeah, we did get feedback from our chief of police as well that just flowed really nice. So just for future for us, if we think of any opportunity for some form of drive-through event, or if there's something that we want to do, that area did work really well for that kind of event. So
Many happy seniors in this Forest Lake area for sure.
All right, anybody else have any updates?
I guess this was the only thing missed, but just a quick, I don't have a lot of detail, but the senior center has reopened on May 10th, and we're in a phase 1 reopening, which is a very basic reopening, but it's good to see people in there. I stopped over, we had the sewing group back this past weekend. They were really happy. So we're just kind of slowly transitioning back to that open state with the senior center. So that's just another really good positive. We'll continue to transition and build on that. But we do have a senior center coordinator working. She's jumping in and really helping transition things well. So we're grateful for that. And again, just continuing to transition that slowly over the next couple of months. So.
Is that coordinator who you just mentioned, is that a position from the senior center itself, or did we have an outside person come in for that?
It's a city employee, I think currently just on a temporary basis until we get a position more formalized through the different channels that's required, but it's a temporary employee at this time, part-time.
Okay, thanks.
Yep. So that's all I have.
All right, well, do we have a
I
motion?
move we adjourn.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, can we just raise our hand if we're in favor? And then
Yes.
Karen could say aye
I can say,
or nay.
I can say that.
There you
What you
go.
got?
The thumbs up, I love it.
All right.
Thanks, everybody.
Have a
Thank you
good
everybody for your
evening.
time and